Welcome to your afternoon edition of the second stimulus check update, stimulus package update, and stimulus negotiation report for Thursday, November 12th. I just want to come out here and let you all know that if Congress does not get their act together, America as we know it will be screwed. Screwed, honestly, might even be an understatement. But we are finally getting some insights from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer as far as what her Democrats and the Biden administration are currently thinking regarding stimulus. For some, what the Biden administration and Nancy Pelosi are thinking as far as stimulus is considered the holy grail, considered a really good sign. For others, it's looked at as more of a stimulus gridlock, that we may never see any stimulus package again with Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House, with Joe Biden as president or incoming president on January 21st, with a Senate, with a Republican Senate, specifically with Mitch McConnell. Earlier today, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer did a joint press conference together, and they spent much of the time bagging on Republicans and Mitch McConnell and the Trump administration for not really assessing the seriousness of the situation of the COVID, infections, the disease, and why would they not pass the $3.4 trillion stimulus package that Democrats put in their lap back in May. The rest of the time, they gave us some information as to where stimulus negotiations are headed, and this is both good and bad news. Good news in the sense that Democrats and the Biden administration are on the same page with where they want the stimulus package headed. And ultimately, it could potentially be a $3 trillion stimulus package, which would be great, but it's also very unlikely. When one reporter asked Nancy Pelosi if her position has changed in regards to stimulus negotiations or in the stimulus package, she had this to say. She said, and I quote, "Our position is the same it has been all along. We're at the same place, even more so." She's simply referring to the fact that now with cases surging across the United States, there's not just certain hot spots that people can kind of lock down, quarantine, and the rest of the United States will be fine. Right now, it's surging across every single state, every single county, and almost every single city in the United States. And because of this fact, Democrats are now back to that $3.4 trillion stimulus package, not the 2.2 they once were at. Now they're saying this is really getting out of hand. We need to really stop this, and the only way to stop this is to throw more money at it. And that would be a $3.4 trillion stimulus package, which is over $1 trillion more than what the CARES Act was back in April. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer also went on to state that due to the rising cases across the country, it is a mandate for a large-scale stimulus package. Okay, that is their mandate. They need it, or we can never crush this virus. For Republicans, however, they will never support a $3.4 trillion stimulus package, which is why gridlock is most likely going to occur. Mitch McConnell has stated multiple times in the last week that a narrow, more targeted bill is in order. And with the economy looking like it's getting back on track, according to Mitch McConnell, we don't need a large package. We just need targeted relief. However, the two parties are arguing different points. We have Mitch McConnell, who's arguing the point of the economy is getting better. We do not need a large stimulus package. Then we have Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer arguing the fact that COVID cases are increasing. We need a large stimulus package to crush the virus. But one party is talking about crushing the virus, the other party is talking about the improving economy. So neither party is arguing the same point, which makes it very difficult to come together and pass a stimulus package that would ultimately help out the American people quickly and in a timely fashion, because they're arguing two different points. They need to separate those two. They need to come together line by line and figure out, what do the American people need? Do we need state and local government funding? Yes, we do. Both parties have said that. So let's determine a number. Let's put that down on a line. Okay, state and local government funding, that is a must. Do we need to rebuild the FBI building in Washington, D.C.? No. Republicans want that. Democrats don't want that. Okay, we don't get that. Do we need to provide, funding for the humanities and the arts? Democrats want that in their HEROES Act, their first one, the $3.4 trillion stimulus package. Democrats or Republicans have never said they want to provide funding for the humanities and the arts and things like that, or some of the state parks, and they don't want to do that. So that's not in the bill. Do we need federal unemployment extensions? Yes, both parties want that. So let's put that in the bill. Do we need a stimulus check? Democrats really want that. Republicans are iffy on that. Well, let's put it in there anyway, and we will address that at the end, when everything's all said and done. Once all those things are in there, those line items are in there, then and only then can they finally come to agreement on the amount. But if they can't figure out what needs to be in there to help out the American people, and keeping their own agendas aside, we're never going to see a stimulus package. Mitch McConnell also stated that providing state and local government funding is not really an issue. It's an issue in the fact that the size of the package, not how the money is theoretically going to be spent. The issue comes when Nancy Pelosi is demanding that Republicans agree to state and local government funding that will cover possible future losses due to COVID. Not essentially covering actual losses, proven losses, or projected losses. It's possible future losses. And that right there is something Mitch McConnell will never agree to. At this point, Mitch McConnell's open to $250 billion for state and local governments, because he stated that is about what they've currently lost. However, Nancy Pelosi is set at $417 billion and not a penny less. This is why the stimulus negotiations are going to be very difficult with Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is very conservative. He's not going to give any additional money to Nancy Pelosi. He's not going to give in like Steve Mnuchin and President Trump would. And as of right now, there are multiple reports stating that the Trump administration and the White House have completely taken a step back, will not negotiate. They will not negotiate unless negotiations go all the way back and have to be restarted. If that's the case, the White House could potentially jump in, and that would be Steve Mnuchin, not President Trump. So, with that said, it's pretty much Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer that are continuing with these negotiations. Joe Biden will have his input over on the Democrat side, and as far as Republicans, it does not, any reports that I've read right now, and I've read multiple reports today, none of them state whether Mitch McConnell is going to the Trump administration and President Trump and asking to see if he would support a $500 billion stimulus package, a $1 trillion stimulus package, or maybe something higher. We just don't know yet. However, in much of this press conference with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they were both fired up. They were fired up. If you didn't get a chance to watch this, I highly recommend you go and do. Just type in Nancy Pelosi, interview, or Nancy Pelosi today, and you will see there's a lot of people covering it. Nancy Pelosi even aggressively asked Republicans to stop playing their games. She said, and I quote, "Stop this circus and get to work on what really matters to the American people, their health and their economic security." Now, I personally think this is sad, but this is funny in a way that right now, Nancy Pelosi is mad at Republicans for playing this political game, this game with the American people's lives. And that they're doing this now, but Republicans were not all in Nancy Pelosi's face, publicly telling her, hey, stop playing games with the American people just, a couple weeks ago or even a few months ago. Nancy Pelosi was playing political games for months. And now she's ripping Republicans for doing the exact same thing. How one-sided is this? Because Republicans do the exact same thing. Republicans tell Nancy Pelosi, hey, you need to make sure this is all about COVID. You need to make sure that it's only COVID-related issues. And then they go and put in some stupid thing into their bill. It's one-sided. It's either a Republican-sided or a Democrat-side. They need to get over this. The sad thing in both of these instances is the American people are getting screwed, and neither party seems to care. Senate Finance Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, he had this to say regarding Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi just today. There's not been any discussion yet between Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi, but McConnell is not going to rely on Mnuchin anymore to do the dealing. I think he is intended to take it over and try to get something going and get it done. Right now, many experts believe that there are only really two outcomes and two paths forward for stimulus. Both could be promising. Both are going to be difficult, though. First, if Democrats regain control of the Senate on January 5th, this is the Senate runoff race over in Georgia. If Democrats regain control, then a large-scale comprehensive stimulus package will be in the works, and it most likely is what they are banking on. If this doesn't happen, then Democrats truly lose all leverage, and they will most likely have to agree with what Mitch McConnell somewhat proposes, however, negotiating and talking it up. The second way, this is the most likely way, is passing standalone bills for the highest priority stimulus items until they make up a moderately comprehensive stimulus package that both parties can agree on. This would truly be a bipartisan bill. Right now, this is the most likely outcome, is passing standalone bills that will ultimately make up a more comprehensive package. However, right now, passing standalone bills has long been a no for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. But things could have changed since the election. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have not stated publicly or privately, as far as I know, since the election, whether or not they would entertain the idea of a standalone bill. My guess is that they would not entertain this idea unless Joe Biden steps in and says, we need to get something done. I've been through this before. I've been through a financial crisis before. I understand the magnitude of it. I understand the direction we're going. If we do not provide something now, something's better than nothing. I believe he is ultimately going to be the saving grace for Republicans. Because if not, and I say for Republicans, not Democrats, I say for Republicans because Republicans, as of right now, are looked at as the bad guy. They have been withholding stimulus for months. President Trump, a Republican, is not offering anything to the Biden administration or the Biden campaign, not really offering any, value right now as the president. He's too busy looking at the election results and trying to figure out whether there's fraud or not. And I get it. But that is why Mitch McConnell is pretty much looked at as the Grim Reaper, the bad guy, because it's all on him as to why there's no stimulus going out to the American people. So that is why I think Joe Biden could ultimately come in and help save the economy, for at least for the short term. Who knows if it's going to be better than the Trump administration, what President Trump had planned. But as of right now, this is the path we're going. So far, the outlook on stimulus is not looking so promising. Okay, just want to bring that to you. Want you to understand that. However, both sides have a long ways to go before they can truly negotiate. Both sides really need to modify their demands. Both sides need to try their best to understand the other side's point of view, where it's coming from, and how it could ultimately benefit the economy and the American people. Until this happens, then we will most likely not see any stimulus, or we will see stimulus negotiations get closer. But by closer, we could still be $1 trillion apart. So we need to get closer. We need to bring our values, our way of thinking for both parties, bring that closer together. Because we're far left and we're far right. We need to be more in the middle. And once we are, I believe a stimulus package will ultimately get done. But as we know more, as we start to begin to get new updates, new statements from Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Joe Biden, maybe President Trump, Steve Mnuchin, Mark Meadows, Jerome Powell, anybody, I promise I will keep you updated. I'll keep you informed as to what's going on. Just want to thank you guys for watching this stimulus update for later on in the day, Thursday, November 12th. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.